And we're back for round 2, segment 2 of the GridIron. Now, on the last topic we actually were talking about, I mean, what was it? How, like, the Syrian people are reacting. I mean, I think basically it's what kind of policy do we have to institute on a foreign basis about, you know, just so many people just coming into your country. I mean, with 11.6 million people, like we've been consistently saying, are displaced around these 4 countries. What is the biggest thing that I mean, the U.S. is going to have to start seeing. I think what was it the other day? I read that I think the U.S. is allowing 800,000 Syrian refugees, whereas I think Germany is going to allow 6,000 more. Oh, no, what was it? 600,000 more? Just to be able to, like, combat just this huge humanitarian crisis. But I think just being able to cope with such a big problem is going to have to really reflect on, like, how the international community reacts to it. I mean, we've had stories about, like, the big boat problems that they've been having, and I'm seeing how much money did it actually scratch up to be able to help these people?
It was 2-point-something billion.
Yeah, 2.7 billion. I mean, out of the like 8.4 they really need to be able to, like, what the UN estimates it at. But I think we really need to look at, all right, we see these people are displaced. We see that there could be a very large portion of men, women, and children that are gonna die in the process of being able to move them. But what do you see as an international community? What do you think that we as we as an international community should really do? I mean,
like the U.S.?
This is only going to be a bigger problem if we keep it either A, ignoring it, or B, just not doing anything.
Are you talking about the U.S.? What the U.S. should
I mean,
do?
just the international community as a whole. I mean, freedom isn't a commodity that is rare anymore. I mean, like, America has it, Canada has it, Mexico even has it. I mean, what do you think the international community is going to have to do? Because I think North America is going to have to do something about these people. I mean, obviously they're not going to stay in this country that has such unrest that their lives are at stake. You know, what do you think? I mean, what do you think the international community should do?
I think they have to take these people in. What else would they do? I mean, just let the people rot and run away just to get shoved back out? Well,
I mean, if you look at it as a cosmopolitan type thing, you got to see how, I mean, this affects countries like Germany, countries even more so like Greece that have just such awful economic, like, have such an awful economy. I mean, they don't have, money to be able to do this. I mean, there's not enough resources nor, I mean, time to deal with these kind of people, I mean, in Greece. But that's where they're going. There's another hundreds of thousands of stories of people just marching their way to Munich, Germany, But it's just like, dang, like, what are we going to do with these people? I mean, it's just so many people that are just dispersed. I mean, there's nearly, 250,000 people that are in Iraq, another 2 million in Turkey, and another 1,800 million in Lebanon. Like, it's just like, geez. Like, and Lebanon's not even that big. It's like maybe not even a quarter of the size of Syria. Like, how are they doing that? Like, but I think the biggest thing that, I mean, if you're gonna address these people, you got to be able to define what they are. I mean, and calling them migrants, I feel like is not the correct choice of word. I think calling them refugees because they're seeking refuge from their country. I mean, whether or not they like that terminology or not, but you just can't, like, you have to facilitate them to the point of being able to put them back into that country. And I really think that's the biggest thing, is that we can't just leave Syria as a big ghost town. You have to reform the country itself to be able to put those people back in their places. And I feel like there's a lot of, just because of that unrest, it's just become such an unproductive portion of the world. And I think you could speak of that, of the entire Middle East. You just need to squash whatever beef is going on and be able to work past then, just, because, like, it's just, you see nothing working out for them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just a generalization for me to say, but I think there's something that needs to be said for these people. I mean, someone needs to speak on their behalf. You can't just have 7.6 to 11 million people just displaced, and then a good portion of them die on their process of moving over to seek refuge. I mean, these people are risking their lives for more lives. It's nuts. It's really crazy. But I mean, Mike, when we see all these stories of people going across the Mediterranean Sea to be able to get to Greece, why do you think people are doing that? I mean, like news nowadays, they know Greece is not doing too hot. I mean, they're in the bottom tier of whatever may be going on in the UN, just economically wise. I mean, Germany keeps bailing them out. And I think Germany as a whole is doing a great job about, moving those people, like, to their country as a whole. But, I mean, I just don't understand what goes through these people's minds. Like, why stay... Okay, well, I mean, and that works both ways. Why stay in the Middle East? Or why stay in the Middle East? Or why just go... Why go to even an even worse economic place? I mean, it's just something that just doesn't click to me. I mean, I'm asking a lot of questions just to figure out, get a good grasp of what's going on, but I just don't understand how these people are getting there, how these people are, surviving the trek itself. So, Mike, I mean, the biggest question for me right now is, what do you think, like a Syrian that... Well, let's bring it even back more. I mean, I really think addressing the issue as Syria as a whole, what's going on in Syria right now, needs to be addressed. What do you think? I mean, and this just goes in with better research. I mean, we came in this half an hour into it. I mean, like, we weren't as prepared as we should have been. But, I mean, these are the questions that should be asked. I mean, like, just get a good list of questions and just being able to find solutions to them. But Syria needs to, like, really reevaluate. I mean, do you think there's better examples in the past history of of a humanitarian, like, crisis such as this? Do you think, like, Syria, do you think Syria is the first country that has dispersed so many of their people? Is there portions in history?
Ireland.
Ireland?
Well, Ireland didn't displace their people; they left for the famine. I don't know. I think you were right when you said we have to look at what's happening in Syria now, and I think that is a stalemate between the government and the terrorist groups and the rebel groups, and the rebel groups, and the stalemate's causing everyone to be homeless. There's fighting everywhere, and when in 2013, if you remember, when the U.S. and Britain stopped sending the non-lethal supplies to Syrian rebel groups, I think that was a bad hit. That's like medicine, vehicles, communication equipment. So I think that made the Syrian, like, the people who needed help, they took a bad hit because the U.S. is like, listen, we can't trust that these supplies are going to get to them. And yeah, fair enough. But that being said, people are still giving those sorts of supplies to the people, and it's just not the U.S. and Britain who would be like huge suppliers rather than like the Walmarts as opposed to like a little corner store.
Well, and I think if you look back towards, like, Russia back in, the revolution times, back in 1917, there were supposed to be even more people that, like, migrated, but they all migrated by foot, and I think that's a key factor. But you have so many people that have just fled from Russia in the past, going into Poland by foot. I mean, I think my great-grandmother did the same thing, but I don't think there's a huge risk value to doing that. I mean, maybe weather, but you don't see those people having to cross a sea, if anything. They're not like hopscotch and two guys on a rowboat going across the Atlantic Sea to get to to Canada or America, if they can really shoot that far down. But you gotta understand that, like, dang, like, this many people are just dispersing because of political unrest, and it's just like, all right, first things first. What's going on, Syria? Like, why is it all of a sudden the burden of the international community to be able to compensate for your foolish, just, what is it, policy? Like, why? Why are you doing this to the international community? Because I feel like countries act out only in themselves, and I think more of a day, and now in any more portion of the day, you have to look at the international community. Like, all right, what if I just say this and nearly 11.6 billion people are like, I can't do this. Like, it's just not something, that's gonna really like help us out as an international community as a whole. I mean, will the UN help me out even more if I make them pay $8.5 billion to be able to facilitate nearly 75% of my population in Syria? I just really don't understand how Syria just goes, yeah, let's do that, just so maybe a quarter of our people are happy and the richest and wealthiest in the country. It's policies like that weaken our global camaraderie, our global, our global work. Like, we're not going to progress as a world if countries like this do actions like that. And I think you can categorize them all in the Middle East by doing that. And you see efforts by America to be able to, do that good old American thing of spreading freedom and love. But, we can only help out so much. We can only give so much aid. We can only fight so many wars. We can only, we can only do so many humanitarian things to be able to help these people get back on their feet. And it's just like, well, shoot. Like, we can only do so much, and you guys just keep doing the same old thing all over and again. I mean, is it us? Maybe. Is it more so you? I hysterically want to say yeah, but maybe we're doing a little too much. Maybe we're doing too much for those people, and they're just relying on the aid and not being able to bounce back. Like, I'm just not aware of it. I mean, what do you see? What could the international, what do you see the international community doing more to help these people?
I think the international community is doing all they can. Like, they can't just go into the country and like save these people from war. Like, they can't step into a war zone and pick out the people who need help. Like, it's constant like crossfire over there. I guess like the people in the international communities just need to do like what they're doing right now is taking in all the refugees they can. Like, Germany says they can take up to 500,000 a year by 2020. The UK will accept 20,000 people direct.
They said that by year? They actually have an annual number of how much people they can actually be able to help out?
By 2020, yeah.
Okay, so there's a dedeline to it. They're not just going to be like, all right.
Not this year, yeah.
Okay. But let's do the numbers between that. So it's 2015, so 5 years from now, they're going to have 500,000 people, 500,000 Syrians, exactly. I mean, that's a rough number.
But I think the U.S. was, like, drafting a number like that, too, for, like, 2020 as well. So, I mean, there are people, like, stepping up, but it can't all happen at once. I mean, the Syria problem, like, what's happening in Syria is going to go on for a long time. They're at a stalemate in the civil war now. Like, there's 3 different groups fighting each other. It's chaos. Like, the first thing that the international communities can do is accept the refugees. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary situation. I mean, it's just sticky all around. I mean, I feel like even now more than anything, if we can get people that just no, I mean, I don't even want to say people that just know what to do in a situation like this, but there has to be some text, some book, something like some guidelines that, hey, these are basic survival needs that we need to happen when Syria decides to go and just off all of its people out of the country. Like, and it's just scary. Like, what goes on? I mean, like, one morning, your kid's going to school, you're going to work, your mother's doing maybe housework. I mean, I guess they have a very strong patriarchy type thing going on over there in the Middle East still. I mean, it's just basic centered family values. I mean, that's what Islam is basically surrounded by. But do you think that, I just don't know. I mean, like, you got to be able to see what can we do for these people? I mean, like, what do they want? Like, do these people need to tell? I mean, like, just write it out. I mean, there's always going to be a certain portion of people that are just like, no, this is not what I'm seeing for the country. And then there's always going to be those small portion of people that are just like, yeah, this is the only way I see living life. I mean, I think like no one's really defined what a status quo should be for that country. And it's just scary to the point where you're just like, what are we going to do? What could we do for you people? Like, tell me. Tell us. Tell the UN. There's an ambassador that sits in that chair, and he's sitting there probably scratching his head like sorry, like let me go call up the big guy in the White House. I don't know. I mean, what goes on for this government? Why would the government allow something like this to happen? I mean, is this something good-hearted that they're seeing as a positive thing, or I mean, as ridiculous as that may sound, or I mean, like what is there to do?
I don't think they can hear you.
What do you mean? No, them?
Oh, never mind.
Nah, but it's just like, I don't know, what can we see for them to do on an international scale to be able to combat such an issue?
Who, the Syrian government?
Yeah, the Syrian. I mean, I'm always trying to look back at the Syrian government and go, well, what are you doing that I'm not seeing? You know,
I really
There's
don't.
always a point of view that I'm not seeing.
I really don't think it's it's indirectly the Syrian government's fault that everyone's leaving, but I don't think it's the government saying, "Hey, people, like, get out of here." It's them. They're fighting a rebel group, and then on top of that, they're fighting like an Islamic terrorist group. Like that, it's just constant chaos, and the people, like you said earlier, like the people in Syria, they can't go to like, how can they like work every day, like do things like that? Like, do you really think that the people are going to school like regular people? Do you think they're going to work like 9 to 5? Like they're like scrambling to live and not get shot on their way to work and on their way to school. I really don't think they're going to school. I mean, that's why they're leaving. They have to like have some shot at normalcy. Yeah,
and I just don't see like how one day you wake up and go, all right, we gotta get out. Like, we gotta leave. We gotta go. We can't be living in our house anymore. Like, this is just too much. Like, I mean, me as a family, like, you know, as a dad probably in that family, like, I gotta make the best decision for my family and go, all right, yeah, let's get on this boat with like X amount of people that doesn't seem safe. Do I have life jackets? Probably not. I mean, is there a huge risk evaluated in this? Yeah, like, but come on, guys. The international community's got to help out there. Syria's got to step it up there even so. But, I mean, I don't know. I see this on the gridiron next week. I don't know about you, Mike, but I think this is such a strong issue.
We got to re-meet this one. Yeah.
We really got to press in on this, but I just don't know what's going on. What can we see on the? I think some of the biggest here. Let's figure this out. I think we as an international community need to figure out what they need, what they want, what can we do, how much money, all that jazz. What can we do first off? That's just, you know, simple. And I feel like on the top of that list, it should not be what to do with these refugees. And as blatant and as absurd as that may sound, we need to figure out what's going on in Syria that's not working out. We can't just be like, all right, let's just crowd all these people, let's put them all in a safe place, and then figure it out? No. We need to figure out what's going on there before we can continue to accept any more refugees. We need to figure out what's going on there and squash it. Because we can't just be doing this. And then I feel like we need to be able to, like, you know, from what I've read, there's like X amount of white tents just surrounding like capital cities and all that jazz. We need to figure out what can we be able to do to be able to start from scratch and then build a community. But I think I see this on next week's ballot for our discussion, man. This is such a huge issue. I mean, I think we'll have more details coming in the next week about what most people are going to be doing. But we really need to lay in on us as an international community and what's going on in Syria. Like, we really need to figure that out. And I think on next week's Gridiron, we'll get down to the scratch of it.
All right.
I'm excited about it, but, I mean, I think we're going to have a little bit more detail. Obvious. We're going to meet at 9 o'clock. So we can figure that out.
That's Starbucks.
But this has been our first show. I mean, I think it went pretty well. I mean, just from mostly winging it. But, I mean, we need to have a little bit more detail on our portion of the part. But, you know, I mean, just regardless, I'm hoping to have a little bit more fun. Be a little bit lively in the morning. I always get my cup of Joe, so I gotta get that out on pen on pad anyway. But here's to Frank, right? Here's to Frank.
Here's to Frank.
Here's to Frank.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy, stay classy, New Rochelle. Stay classy out in college. And this has been the Gridiron. I'm Patrick McGuire.
I'm Mike Keane.
Thank you for listening and watching.